All right, 349. We got a track adjuster that's stuck. Customer thought we could get the track off without breaking a pin, and unfortunately it's stuck too far out, so we can't get the track just rolled off there with a skid steer and a crane. But we're gonna break the track with taking a pin out now. Found the master pin. It's the one that's got the hole in the center of it, a little divot in the center of it. Do we need a track press? Yes. Do we have a track press? No. So I'm going to try to show you guys how to do this job without a track press. I'm hoping that we can heat this thing up enough to beat that pin out of there, and we'll just see how it goes. I took on this job under the pretense that the customer would be able to get that track off there without breaking the pin. But then actually, we did one side like 2 weeks ago, and it worked fine. Didn't have to pull the pin out of it, come right off there. But unfortunately, this side's a little tougher than that. It ain't quite as worn out, but nonetheless, the track adjuster's still stuck. So I'm here now. We're gonna suffer through it, try to heat that pin, or heat the link up around the pin, and see if we can't sledgehammer it out of there. All right, so the first step is we're gonna pull 2 track pads off so we can get plenty of room into that pin right there. All right, we're down to the links. We got it cleaned up. So I said earlier, this is the master pin, and I think that's because it lubricates a little bit differently than regular pins. You can knock it in and then come back and lubricate it. It's like a rubber plug right there. So I will go out and say that when messing with these pins, this center bushing, it rotates on that link. So when you're trying to knock one of these out, it's going to be stiff here and here because it's a press fit on both the ears. My thinking is we're going to heat this here, and then try to knock the pin out of there. We'll see how it goes. If we burn the seals up, that's fine. We're gonna get some more seals to go back together with it. But the main thing is we gotta get this joker apart first. So some folks might argue that the master pin, the tolerance is a little looser, so it knocks in easier. I can't confirm or deny that. I know the dang thing's still pretty tight in there, so. All right, well, I have heat and beat, and it ain't moved. So a new pin from Cat's like 55 bucks. So we're fixing to just cut this pin out. And then we'll go back together. We'll just stick that new pin in there and hammer it in. Easy enough. All right, after hollowing out the pin, it's starting to move. Let's just keep on beating. And there it is. Got the pin knocked out. I'm gonna roll the track back now, get it off where I can get a crane in here and pick that track adjuster. So let's fire the machine up, pick it up, roll it back. We're gonna take the skid steer, we're gonna pull the idler out of the end of there just to give us some room to get the track adjuster down. It's pretty rare when we have a skid steer on site, but it sure is nice when we do. Just like that. She slid out some. That's all we needed, just a little room to work with. We're gonna drop that roller out of the way so we can get the track adjuster out of there, and we're gonna drop that rock guard down so we can get to the bolts in the back side of the track adjuster. All right, so my big boy 1-inch gun wouldn't break this rock guard loose. So we're gonna put a little bit of heat on this frame. So far it's worked on the other 2 bolts, so we're gonna continue on this side and see if we can get this rock guard out of here. All right, rock guard's out. There's 2 bolts holding the back of this track adjuster. I've got them out, you can see the 2 holes there. So I've got the come along kind of holding that thing in place so I didn't hurt the bolts whenever I backed it out. So I'm gonna let it down now. It's probably just gonna drop out of there, which is fine. I'll use a crane to pick the new one up, but to get the old one out, it really doesn't matter. Scratch that. I guess the dirt has got it just packed in there. How about now? Oh, there it is. As you can see, this old rod just gets rusted up. And when it gets rusted up and sticks in that bore, I mean, it just gets stuck. There ain't nothing you can do about it. You versus the guy she tells you not to worry about. It's a pretty service truck right there, boys. All right, here's a new one. Even though it's got 4 bolt holes in there, you only want to use the lower 2. So just watch that whenever you're sticking them back in. You know, it just be centered if you got the right 2 holes in use. All right. I encourage you guys to try to use a crane. This little rascal's heavy. All right, now we're pretty close. We still got to use a little bit of elbow grease and get it worked in place. But we'll stick one of the bolts to the back side and see if we can't get it started and drawn up a little bit. All right, if you look real close, you can see those two lower bolts are started. Everything looks centered. We can see the old outline, and we're matching the old outline, which means we're in the correct two holes. So now we can tighten it on up. One more thing to mention, it does take a 3/4 impact and a long extension to go in this rear hole and to get up there and tighten those two bolts. So keep that in mind. Next, we're going to use the crane to lift the roller back in place. Make a big C-frame tooling to do this, but on this particular hole, that one, if the track's not in the way, you can just lift it up straight through there, and that's the easiest way to do it today, so that's the way we're going to do it. All right, after some anti-siege on the bolts, we got the bolts torqued. We're getting ready next to lift the rock guard into place. Same here, we got a perfect spot to lift, so we're going to wrap it and just pick it straight up. All right, got all 4 bolts started. That thing was a little kink, so that was kind of tricky. Now we can tighten them up. All right, trivia time. Then we're going to tie this into a little bit of a safety topic. 349E. I want you guys to guess how much y'all think this thing weighs. Don't have to Google it. Just shoot from the hip. Take a good guess. Tie that into safety because I've been crawling under this thing working all morning now, pulling out rollers, pulling out rock guard. But you got to have something to support it. Now, these are just some old wood blocks. They're in decent shape. I could stand to be a little better, but they're keeping that weight off of me. I would be a fool to crawl under this thing just depending on those boom cylinders are holding place. It don't matter if it's a brand new machine or whatever. Don't crawl under that joker if you don't have something blocking it. I mean, just play it safe, guys. What I was trying to get at was the 349 is very heavy, and you don't want to be under it if it falls on you. That's the dots I was trying to connect between the trivia and the safety. Whoa, girl. All right, now that everything's back together, we're going to take the little skid steer there. We're going to push this idler back in as far as it'll go. There's a pretty good bit of gap in there, so hopefully it'll push kind of some of that dirt with it. Let's see. All right, the idler pushed back in. We're up tight against the adjuster. So you see there's a big gap from here to here. Well, inside of that tube, there's a big spring. It's actually called a recoil spring. So its main goal is to be a shock absorber. Say if you hit something with that front idler, if you get a rock that rolls through here, it's supposed to compress a little bit so that you don't break anything like a track link or a final drive forbid. Now they do break from sometimes. If you get a situation where you've got this track adjuster sucked all the way in and the idler is still sprung way out, a lot of times it will break the rod that holds it tight. If you're trying to pull the idler out and it won't come out, a lot of times that spring will break and shoot to the side and just hang up in there, and it's a nightmare to get it out. It usually requires a torch and a lot of cutting. All right, we've got it back on the ground. We're gonna try and roll this final drive, fix to take a crane and pick right here so I can ease this track all the way back up here so we can reconnect it. All right, this is a little tricky. I got the crane hooked up to the track. I've got the crane remote in my hand, so I'm working the track forward a little bit, up a little bit, forward a little bit, up a little bit. So far, it's working okay. All right, we came as far as we could that way. We got to where the sprocket's just jumping the track up and down, so we're gonna come along there, put a little bit of tension on there. Sure would be nice to have a second person, but we're gonna make do. Put a little tension on it, and then when you move it, it'll just suck it right up there. All right, we're almost there. Goal here is that we roll this around to where there's no slack right here, because if you set this machine down right now, what's going to happen is you're going to engage the links with those sprocket segments. You have this gap back here, and it's not going to let you attach your chain or your track very easily because you're going to have that gap back here. So we're going to try to roll it forward a little more to get that gap out to where when we set this machine down, there's no gap back here. All right, that's what we want to see. We're tight all the way around. We can set down now. There's no gap right there. She's setting back down, and that is just about perfect. All right, we'll line her back up, get a pin stuck in it. Unfortunately, the pin that I cut, they don't have in stock, so we'll have to come back in the morning and knock that pin and those seals back in there. All right, while we're here, we got one little hydraulic leak we're gonna fix. I want to take a second to brag on these Mac flame drive wrenches. All you cat guys, anybody that deals with split flange hydraulic lines, you know that a lot of times, which this is a pretty open area, but if you got a tight spot and you take the regular run-of-the-mill, not making fun of anybody, but run-of-the-mill wrench, and you get in there and you need to be on the backside to tighten it, you jam up. It's not designed for that. These flick drives, I was kind of suspicious at first because they're just so damn bulky, but they work perfect for like getting behind that bolt. Now this isn't a great example because it's out here in the open, we could use anything, but there are situations, and what do you mechanics know, where you need to get to that backside and tighten, and it's tucked way down in there and covered up by some mess, and you just can't get to it. Well, these Mac wrenches really make that a lot easier. Now, I'm not sponsored by Mac. I don't get any money for saying this. I'm just giving you guys a good word of what I found that works well. Now we're back the next day. We got a pin. We're going to try to hammer in there, but first we're going to take a flapper wheel and we're just going to clean up these bores, get some of the old burrs out of the way, try to make it just a little bit easier to knock that pin in there. We've got the hose cleaned up. Next we're going to install these seals and spacers into these outer ears. Now we got the pin started. We've got it lined back up. We're going to take part of the old pin and just stick back in there for a dummy plug to kind of hold it as we hammer it, just by ourselves today. I'm putting a little bit of anti-seize in these bores and on this pin as I go, try to make this a little bit easier. All right, once you get past this first part, the pin actually necks down a little bit, so it is easier to go through. When this gets back to here, you'll be hammering this and the other side of these ears at the same time, so it's going to get a little bit tougher. All right, the pin is in there. I sound a little out of breath because I underplayed that. It's a lot of work. You got to hammer the fire out of that thing to get it in there, but it's in there. Depends on how tight these pins go in. Sometimes if they're a little bit loose, I'll come back and put a little small tack weld on either side of that pin. But this thing was a booger bear to get in there. I had to fight it the whole way, so it's not going anywhere. We're not going to tack weld this one. It almost couldn't hammer all the way in, so it's not going to come out of there. All right, next we're going to clean up our mounting surfaces for the track pads, and we're going to flip the track pads over into the same thing. It's important to keep these clean whenever you go to mount them. If you get dirt behind there, or if it's a new set of rails and you got paint, when you torque those bolts, if there's anything back there, it'll let that track pad move around and become loose. We don't want that to happen. Oh yeah, almost forgot a step. This match pan has got a hole in the end of it where you can put this stopper in there. This thing is designed where you put this stopper in there, fill it full of oil, and then put the little plug in there. But the center bush on this one's fairly worn out. Whole undercarriage has got a little bit of wear on it, so it's not going to hold oil. What we're going to do today, though, is just take a grease gun, pack it full of grease, and then stick the plugs in there. That should live the rest of the life of this undercarriage with no problem. All right, there it is. The track pads are back on and torqued. Next, we're going to take a grease gun and adjust that track adjuster out. So I kind of want to show you guys real quick. This is the old track adjuster. I bent the cover of it, but whenever you put grease in that alumite, this thing is supposed to extend out, and when it does, it pushes that front idler out. Yeah, we cheated just a little bit. All right, we got the track tensioned. Now, you see there's a little bit of slack there, a little bit of droop. That's what you want. There is a such thing as too tight. For all you guys in the back, listen up. There is a such thing as too tight. If you get it too tight, you will prematurely wear out your idlers, your carrier rollers, your bottom rollers, final drive bearings. You just tear everything up. So you want a little bit of droop. There's a spec if you look in the cat book and it tells you like to pull the string over it and tighten it here and tighten on the other end and measure the droop. But the general rule of thumb is you want just a little bit of sag like that. That's a pretty good draw, or pretty good sag right there. Sure to have plenty of grease whenever you tackle this job. We're on the other side and we're like on our 5th tube of grease, so these track adjusters are thirsty. Just keep that in mind. All right, after I get the tracks adjusted, I like to get them out and move them a little bit. As we can see, this side is settled quite a bit, so we're gonna come back and give it just a little more grease. Got it on good flat ground right now, so should be pretty good whenever we get done this time. All right, she's done. On to the next one. Hey, can y'all quit breathing so loud? All right, we're back at the house. It's actually a day or two later. Want to end the video off there and say I hope somebody learned something. Just kind of want to do this to show that, you know, you don't always have to have a track press to do track jobs. It helps, man, yeah, it helps. But last time I priced a track press, it was like close to 10 grand, and that's on the lower end of things. I've seen some big nice ones that like some of your cat dizzers and stuff buy. I think them things go like 30 or 40,000. They're up there. As with anything, there's always, you know, a dozen different ways to do it. that's just the way that I found that I like to do it. It's worked pretty well for me this so far. If you guys got a better idea, hey, drop in the comments. I'm always open, you know, open new suggestions, hoping to try new things. The biggest thing is, though, guys, you be safe doing it. One last thing to all you guys out there who are wanting to be, you know, maybe your own boss one day, be your own film mechanic, be your own whatever, have your own shop. I will give you this bit of information. Whenever it comes to getting ready to do something like that, be good at being completely independent on your own. Like this job, it'd have been great to have 2 sets of hands, but I was out there by myself, and there's a lot of things that, you know, it'd been easy to pick up phone and say, hey, I need some help from somebody. But we push through, find a way. But if you're going to work for yourself, especially as a film mechanic, like you're going to be stuck by yourself a lot. So just, you know, mentally prepare for that. If you can do that, if you can be that one guy and get stuff done, I mean, you'll do great. Just want to say that. All right, want to end it up there. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one. Say goodbye, Bobo.